Okay, the next thing that is important to go over is the diabetes order set. So I'm going to go to this recent access tab to find my patient. And oddly, this patient also has diabetic ketoacidosis. So I'm going to click on the order tab and it goes to sets. I'm going to go to the pediatric sets, and as you can see here, again, here are the pediatric floor sets. There is, and there it is, peds diabetic ketoacidosis. Take note that there's also a peds new onset diabetes. This is meant for a patient that has new onset diabetes but is not in diabetic ketoacidosis. Our patient is in diabetic ketoacidosis, so I'm going to go over and we've already ordered the peds admission order set, so I'm going to hit view and start ordering what I need to order. Notify provider. So this is an order to the nurses that say to notify you if the blood glucose falls below 200 while on insulin. Excuse me. Then if 100 or greater than 400. So essentially, while they're on the insulin drip, they'll notify you for these blood glucoses. And guess what? You can modify that text by going in and changing that if you want to, although you should probably keep this standard here. Vital signs every hour. Okay, this patient has diabetic ketoacidosis, so it's vital signs Q1 hour while in PICU status. Neuro checks every hour while in PICU. Probably should order all these things. Obtain blood glucose now and every 1 hour. Supplemental text down here. I'm going to go ahead and edit so we can take a look at this. Just says on admission every hour while on insulin infusion with a goal glucose of 200 to 300 while on insulin. Now, notice that there's more stuff down here, so I'm going to have to go in this box and then hit the down arrow. Notify MD if glucose is less than 200 in the first 24 hours, then if less than 100 or greater than 400. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Diabetic teaching probably sounds like a good idea at some point. BMP, okay, so laboratory value or tests. BMP every 2 hours. You can change that, but every 2 hours for a BMP is pretty standard. Magnesium every 2 hours. Phosphorus every 2 hours. Urine ketones, Q void. Once the patient's at a DKA or the ketones go away, you can always cancel that order. Blood gases every hour. Nutrition consult. I'll go ahead and order that so maybe they can see the patient tomorrow. Hopefully their DKA will be better. Okay, so fluids and medications. So fluids, you have half normal saline, normal saline. Notice there's no rate here yet because I haven't chose it. That's why this edit is red, because there's no rate. Again, this 1 liter is just because this is a liter bag that tells the nurse what size bag to get. There's 2 other fluids that are standardly ordered in patients with diabetic ketoacidosis, and that's half normal saline with potassium acetate plus potassium phosphate. Well, how much potassium acetate? It says down here, 20 milliequivalents per liter. Potassium phosphate, 20 milliequivalents per liter, which happens to also equal 13.6 millimoles per liter. We usually go by 20 milliequivalents per liter plus 20 milliequivalents per liter, and it also says it up here. And then it's the same exact fluid, except this one has D10. So hopefully you understand why there's a fluid that has D10 and a fluid that doesn't, and that you can wire these fluids together to titrate the amount of dextrose you want to give. If you don't understand that, you can ask your senior resident. But let's go in here. So you're going to order both of these things standardly. But let's say that you want to change the amount of potassium acetate. Let's say that Dr. Reiner wants a different amount. Well, you can simply do that right down here. So you only want to give 10 of that. 10 milliequivalents per liter of potassium acetate. I changed it to 10. Now you should change it in the comment section too. 10. And you should let the nurse know as well, because this will be a little bit different. The rate. You're going to have to pick a rate, something that makes sense. I'll just go ahead and say 70. And continuous, you have the rate. Now if you wanted to change the potassium phosphate, okay, you have to, this wants this in millimoles, so you'll have to do some calculations. So let's say if you wanted 10 milliequivalents per liter, then that'll be half of that, which is about, what is it, 6.8, I think. So you'd have to change this to 6.8 millimoles, and then I'd probably change this to 6.8 millimoles. Okay, so you could change the amount there too, but most of the time you're probably not going to do that. Okay. So you got those, at least these are ordered, and you would have to specify the rate. Now I picked 70 milliliters per hour for this one. This one's 0. So just take note of what you want to do there. So far this patient's not getting any dextrose. Later on you might need to give some dextrose, and you can simply modify that order. I can show you how to do that. Now here's the insulin. IV insulin continuous is pretty much always going to be 0.1 units per kilo per hour. You're not going to change this very often at all. If your sugar starts to drop, most of the time you're not going to change this, but you're just going to add dextrose in because the patient still needs insulin. Okay, so, that's a simple click right there. There's not going to be too much editing because, again, this is going to be pretty standard here. Let's see if there are, do they give you, yeah, there are other options, but again, you're going to want to keep that one. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK, double check 0.1 units per kilo per hour. That should be good. And Zofran, if you need Zofran for these diabetics that are vomiting, 6.5. Again, it maxes out at 4. I'll go ahead and see if it catches it once I try to put these orders in. Okay, now it prompted up a question when I tried to put the orders in. It wants a stop date for the venous blood gas.